So stage 1 of teaching your horse to back up is you facing them and then them backing up from there. So Phoenix has not really done much of this before. So I'm going to start by leaning over and then kind of waving the whip. You can use one whip or two whips. Kind of lean over. And then there what I did was, if he doesn't respond by leaning over, the wave of the whip, tap, tap, there he backed up, so I'm going to release pressure and reward with the treat. If he didn't respond, then what I did a little bit earlier is you kind of walk into them. You're not hitting them with the whip. You just kind of stomp your feet so that they really get the message, like that. Walk into them and then keep tapping until they back up. There he went to turn, so I kept tapping on his chest lightly with the whip, which is where his cue spot is for backing up, until he backs up, and then make sure that you are releasing that pressure. So lean over, wave the air with the whip. If he responds to that, then release. So remember, use that sequence of cues. Lean over, tap the air, tap the air. If they don't respond, then you're going to kind of walk into them. I'm not smacking him with the whip though. Lean over, tap the air, and then get a little bit more expressive with my body language. Lean over, tap the air, and then walk into him. And I am also using a kiss, so lean over, tap the air, and then a long kiss. So there he goes to turn around, so I'm going to try to use the whip on his chest lightly. I'm going to keep it there, keep it there, keep it there, until he backs up. Tapping his chest lightly, tap, 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 until he takes a step back. Okay, I don't want to release pressure there when he goes to turn around, because then pretty soon that's going to be what he starts offering me. I want him to back up, even if he does turn around and face the other direction. So make sure you don't release the pressure until they give you the right answer. So I'm going to just keep working with him on that. And already he's getting a lot more responsive to just me leaning over and tapping the air. And the more I work with him, the quieter I can get with my body language, and the faster, more willing he will start to back up. But right now, this is the first day I've really worked with him, so it's going to take multiple sessions before he really starts to respond quickly. So lean over, tap the air, and then release. And like always with any exercise you do, once they start to figure it out, then you can ask them for more. So now that he is kind of started to figure it out, I can start asking him for more steps backing up. But just start out with 1 or 2 steps back. So here, trying to get him to hindquarter yield. And again, you want to kind of mix stuff up a little bit, so I kind of took a break there and walked around a little bit, just so that they don't get so used to doing one thing that they start anticipating your movements, and then they're not really paying attention to you anymore. So then walk in until he backs up. And you don't want to keep walking into them. Once they take a good step back, then release the pressure and immediately back up yourself. You lean, tap with the whip, keep tapping, and then he gave that extra step, so then I released. So I'm doing a little bit of desensitizing here with the whip, just to, again, remind him there's nothing to get anxious about. Then lean over, tap the air, kiss, kiss, and then I walk into him, but I don't hit him, and as soon as he starts to take a quick step back, then I release pressure. Don't keep walking into their space. And there he's kind of trying to smell me for food. He's not really paying attention to me. So I'm just going to keep repeating this process for probably maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Again, doing other exercises in between to keep it interesting for him. and then stop with the session. I know I talked in another video, make sure that you are really doing short sessions when you're teaching a new concept. Multiple short sessions is way better than one long session. So again, I'm kind of mixing it up a little bit, walking around, and then I can go back and keep working on the backup. So this is stage 1. You want to make sure that your horse has mastered this step first. Okay, and there he started to turn around and back the opposite way, so I'm going to hindquarter yield, and then ask him to back up again. And make sure your horse knows a hindquarter yield and forequarter yield first. I just put out a video on that as well, so make sure you check that out. So then once your horse is getting experienced with this first stage of backing up, then you can move to stage 2. But again, make sure that they have a pretty good idea of backing up this direction first. This is kind of the building block that we're going to work off of to teach the other 2 ways. So make sure that their cue spot for the backup is their chest. So if you tap their chest lightly or put pressure on their chest lightly, they should back up from that. So then stage 2 would be backing up in hand, or when you are both facing the same way. So this way is actually pretty easy to teach your horse. Maybe you are already doing it in your Liberty leading, but you simply back up and then you're going to wave the whip. If they don't respond to that, then you're going to tap them on the chest. And Phoenix had already done a little bit of this before, so he didn't need a lot of help. Now there, if he goes to turn around, I'm just going to keep the whip on his chest until he takes a couple steps back. Okay, I'm not going to try to turn him around. I just want him to back up. So then I'm also kissing while I'm asking him to back up, just as a cue sound, or you can use the word back. And there he's getting confused, so I'm just asking him to hindquarter yield. And then I'll switch it over to stage 1. And then go back to stage 2. So this way is pretty easy, like I said. And again, start out with just a couple steps, and then as they get more advanced, you can ask for more and more steps. So then stage 3 of teaching your horse to back up is where you stand behind them and then they back up from there. This is definitely the most advanced way to teach your horse to back up, so make sure that you have the other 2 stages mastered first. So what you're going to start out by doing is I have Nadia on a lead rope, and this just kind of helps me from keeping her from like completely turning around. And then I just want to get her comfortable with me standing behind her. I want her standing still. A lot of times your horse gets a little bit anxious when you stand directly behind them because they can't see you. So I just want to walk behind her, and then I'm going to keep my hand on her hip until she stays still. She's trying to back up. She's kind of already anticipating my movement, and I don't want her to do that. I just want her to stand calm and still. If your horse gets nervous with you being right behind them, stand off to their hip at first so that you don't end up getting kicked, because that would be bad. But I've worked with Nadia enough that I knew she wasn't going to kick me, which is why I can stand right behind her. So I'm just going to keep my hand on her, and then as soon as she stays still, then I'm going to walk away and release the pressure. And you're just going to keep doing this until you can consistently stand behind your horse without them turning around to face you or without them already backing up into you. It, again, will probably take some time. It probably took me about 30 minutes here in this first session, and will take multiple sessions before she will be really good at standing still no matter where I'm at. And then from there, you can take the lead rope off. But the lead rope just helps me keep her from turning completely around. You want to make sure, though, that you're not pulling on the lead rope or putting any pressure on it that way, because then that will cue them to back up, and you just want them to stand still right now. So then once your horse is consistently staying still while you walk behind them, then you can actually start cueing for the backup. So here I'm just standing behind her, and then I'm waving the dressage whip in front of her chest. I'm not actually tapping it first, and then I'm giving the cue word backup. And then if they don't respond to that, then you can lightly tap on their chest with the dressage whip, because at this point they should know that if you tap on their chest, they should back up no matter where you are at. When they start backing up at first, they're going to go crooked, they're not going to come straight, they're not going to go fast. But the more you work on it, the better they will get. So again, make sure you're just asking for a couple steps at first, and then once they get comfortable with it, you can ask them for more. So if they go crooked, I just kind of place myself behind them, setting us both up for a win-win situation instead of trying to correct her first and then make her get confused. So that is how I go about teaching this stage of backing up. It is the most advanced, like I said, and then once they get comfortable with it, then you can easily take the lead rope off and do it at liberty, because you're really not using the lead rope anyway. It just is there kind of as a guide to keep them from completely turning around. You can also use a neck rope instead of a lead rope, and put some pressure on their chest that way, and that may help them in the backing up process if you're still struggling with it. So yeah, that is kind of how I teach my horses the 3 different ways of backing up, and hopefully that helps you guys. If you keep watching, you can see the video I put out on my Instagram page that I did with Flicka, the backup challenge. Everyone seemed to like that. So hopefully this gives you guys some ideas, and thank you for watching.